Attention, Mountaineer family. The commencement ceremony is about to begin. At this time, please locate the nearest emergency exit. Please silence your cell phones, tablets, and other electronic devices, and turn your attention to the outstanding students who are the focus of this day. This is their moment to shine, so please give them and their many accomplishments your full attention. Now, let's get ready to welcome our graduates.
Today, we celebrate West Virginia University's 2022 May graduates, 152 years after Marmaduke H. Dent became the university's first graduate. Please welcome the candidates for graduation from the professional and undergraduate programs in the School of Medicine. Marching behind a mint green banner are the Master of Science degree candidates in athletic training. Athletic trainers are an integral part of the sports medicine team. Athletic trainers are sports medicine professionals who prevent, evaluate, and diagnose, treat, and rehabilitate sports-related injuries and conditions. Athletic trainers are highly skilled in responding to medical trauma that occurs during sport-related activities. Marching behind a green banner are the Bachelor of Science degree candidates in Biomedical Laboratory Diagnostics from the Department of Pathology. Biomedical laboratory scientists function at the center of today's hospitals and research facilities. The two tracks are histotechnology and medical laboratory science. Biomedical laboratory scientists are part of a dynamic, continually changing profession and are essential in the diagnosis of disease and monitoring of treatment. Marching behind a silver banner are the various degree candidates in communication sciences and disorders. Graduates in communication sciences and disorders combine the behavioral and applied sciences to the communication process. The Bachelor of Science in Communication Sciences and Disorders prepares individuals to pursue professional degrees that help to improve the lives and access to services for those with communication disorders. Speech-language pathologists assess and treat individuals with speech, language, cognitive, feeding, and swallowing disorders across the lifespan in educational or healthcare settings. Audiologists evaluate and treat the effects of hearing loss to improve the ability for those with hearing disorders to actively participate in their daily activities. Marching behind a green banner are the various degree candidates in exercise physiology. Exercise physiologists merge the science of human body function and structure with the science of exercise to help prevent and combat disease and encourage individuals to stay active throughout their lives. An exercise physiologist may be engaged in a new research discovery or applying research findings in ways that help someone train for the Olympics, rise above stroke complications, recover from a heart attack, or conquer the restrictions of diabetes, cancer, and aging. For exercise physiologists, it's all about preventing disease, overcoming disease limitations, and helping individuals achieve a healthier, longer, and more active life. Marching behind a copper banner are the Bachelor of Science degree candidates in Health Informatics and Information Management. Health informatics and information management professionals live at the intersection of healthcare, technology, and business. Pathways include compliance, privacy and security, data analytics, information governance, operations, and revenue cycle management. HIIM professionals are often invisible to patients, but they have a direct and valuable impact on every patient at every patient encounter by ensuring patient data is accurate, available, protected, and complete. HIM professionals lead the way with trusted data, understanding that health information is human information. Marching behind a gold banner are the Bachelor of Science degree candidates in Immunology and Medical Microbiology from the Department of Microbiology, Immunology, and Cell Biology. Immunologists and medical microbiologists work to improve our understanding of how our bodies protect us against infections and how bacteria and viruses cause disease. Upon graduation, they can pursue careers in medicine, dentistry, or industry. Others contribute to cutting-edge research that develops improved vaccines and therapies to improve health. Marching behind a slate blue banner are the master's degree candidates in occupational therapy. Occupational therapists help people participate in the occupations or activities which individuals equate with health, well-being, security, and happiness. Occupational therapists work with people of all ages to restore their ability to do all those little things that matter most, be they work, self-care, or just having fun. Marching behind a Kelly Green banner are the master's degree candidates in health sciences and physician assistant studies. Physician assistants are licensed medical professionals dedicated to improving their patients' health and quality of life through a focus on prevention, patient education, and evidence-based treatment of medical and surgical conditions. Physician assistants play a vital role in the patient-centered healthcare team and expand access to care for patients in rural and underserved areas. Physician assistants strive to improve the healthcare experience by demonstrating compassion and respect for all in their care. Marching behind a teal blue banner are the doctoral degree candidates in physical therapy. Physical therapists are movement specialists who use a hands-on approach to help individuals conquer pain, disease, or disability through the analysis and treatment of movement-related problems. Physical therapists apply scientific principles of human involvement and healing to help people of all ages and levels of fitness maintain, improve, and restore mobility and function. Physical therapists work with people to empower them to obtain or rediscover moments they dream of achieving. And now, please welcome members of the platform party. Dr. Yam Nguyen, Chairperson of the Division of Athletic Training, and Samantha Sarnio Miller. Dr. Michelle Butina, Vice Chairperson of Professional Education and Director of the Program in Biomedical Laboratory Diagnostics, and Kim Feaster, Director of the Program in Histotechnology. Dr. Jane Brandel, Chairperson of the Division of Communication Sciences and Disorders, and Dr. Michelle Moore, Vice Chairperson for Speech-Language Pathology. Dr. Randy Briner, Chairperson of the Division of Exercise Physiology, and Dr. John Hollander, Senior Associate Dean for Research and Graduate Education. Sally Lucci, Director of the Program in Health Informatics and Information Management. Dr. John Barnett, Chairperson of the Department of Microbiology, Immunology, and Cell Biology. Dr. Steve Wheeler, Chairperson of the Division of Occupational Therapy, and Dr. Amy Burt, Director of the Professional Master's Program. Dr. Jennifer Moman, Director of the Program in Physician Assistant Studies, and Forrest Olgers. Dr. Mary Beth Mandich, Vice Dean for Professional Programs and Chairperson, Division of Physical Therapy. Members of the West Virginia University Board of Governors and Senior University Administration. David Pogue, today's commencement speaker. Carrying the University Mace, Grand Marshal Chad Proudfoot, and Chancellor and Executive Dean for Health Sciences, Dr. Clay Marsh. Please rise for the singing of our national anthem, performed today by Kira McKillop.
Broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting
Please remain standing for the singing of the Alma Mater.
We play
You may be seated. Please welcome to the podium Chancellor and Executive Dean for Health Sciences, Dr. Clay Marsh.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, this is a great day, and this is our final graduation exercise, and of course, we saved the best for last. First of all, I would like to recognize our faculty and staff here who have taught these brilliant young people for the time that they've been here and have made it possible for them to sit in the seats about ready to be our newest graduates. So faculty and staff, please stand and be recognized by our group. Come on. I would also like to recognize David Pogue, who is our commencement speaker, who is going to do an amazing job for us. Please stand and be recognized. And importantly, parents, families, support people, please stand up because it is because of you that these students are here, and thank you for entrusting these students to our care. Stand up, be recognized. And you guys are going to get a lot of recognition here real soon. So you guys have really demonstrated what resilience is. Being students during the COVID-19 pandemic has really given you guys, I hope, the ability to take the lemons that have been presented to you and make lemonade. Because we can either choose in our life to see things as opportunities to grow, or we can see things as problems that are going to overwhelm us. And I believe for you that you have taken this opportunity to grow. So please, let's recognize our graduates for their resilience and for their growth. So what I want to do in a not very long period of time, I understand I have about 2 hours. Kidding, is to talk a little bit about an issue that is really near and dear to all of us, which is mental health and burnout in our health professions. And I know it's warm. I see everybody fanning themselves, so I will try to get through this pretty expediently. As we look at the United States of America, our Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, has said that the real pandemic that we have that is superimposed on the COVID pandemic is that of loneliness. In a survey done by Cigna Insurance Company in 2018, before COVID, then we found that 60% of their respondents reported feeling lonely. And we know loneliness as a perceptional frame, feeling isolated, not being seen, feeling like we are in threat mode all the time, our sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight mode all the time, then increases our risk of early death by 30% and significantly increases our high-risk activities, including drug use, alcohol use, reckless driving, and even suicide. So indeed, this has been such a problem that the United Kingdom has created a minister of loneliness. And so as we look at that frame of how people feel separated, then let's look at what kind of information that we can find from the most cutting-edge science that gives us some solutions to the problem that we're seeing. At the same time that we're seeing this problem with mental health, we also recognize that we have seen the sharpest drop in life expectancy in the United States since the beginning of this century. We have lost 5 years of life during the COVID pandemic versus other rich Western countries, and we've lost 2.5 years of life from what our historical numbers were in the United States during COVID. But this reduction in life expectancy actually started before COVID-19 and started with a group of people in Appalachia and the Ohio River Valley who were dying at a rate that had not been seen since the peak of the AIDS epidemic. And they were initially found to be dying of suicide, overdose, and alcoholism. And then as research was done further, it was determined that they were dying of hopelessness and despair. And the thing that correlated most centrally to their symptoms was the loss of jobs and the fact that the government and other entities didn't come in to try to help them. They felt that nobody saw them. They felt separated. They felt lonely, and they were dying at a very high rate. And as we start to look at the impact of how we see the world, if we see the world as stressful, as we see the world as threatening, what does that do for us? And we turn to a Nobel Prize winner named Elizabeth Blackburn, who did a study in San Francisco looking at a group of women who were highly educated, who were very high standard of living women, average 38 years old, and they gave them a stress questionnaire. And they were able then to take the results of the way that these women saw the world, and then they took blood cells, lymphocytes from their bloodstream, and they were able to measure their telomere length. Now, telomeres are like the caps of our shoelaces, and every time our cells divide, if you imagine our shoelace ends, they get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, which means we are getting older and older and older and older until our shoelace ends are done, and that's when we're done as well. So we can measure in a quantitative manner how old these women were biologically, how old their real age was in their bodies. And if you look at the women who answered that questionnaire with the least amount of stress and the women that answered the questionnaire seeing the most amount of chronic stress, there was a 17-year difference in biological age. Again, these women were average 38 years old, and the most biologically aged, body's age, was 17 years older in the women who saw the world as threatening. And as we look at West Virginia, we have the lowest life expectancy in the country at 74.6 years. And if we look at our worst county for life expectancy, which is McDowell County, and compare that to the best county in the country, which is Summit County, Colorado, there is a 17-year lifespan difference. 17-year lifespan difference. And if we go to the studies that look at people that have lived long and well, longevity studies, people that have lived well into their 80s and 90s, we might think that the secrets to their long age is that they ate better, that they exercised more, that they didn't smoke. Well, it turns out that in a number of these studies that are the best done studies, there's really agreement about 3 things that separate people that do well into their 80s and 90s. And it's not eating better, it's not exercising more, and it's not even not smoking, although certainly it's a good idea to eat well, exercise well, and don't smoke. It turns out that the 3 secrets to these long-lived people are, number 1, they maintain very strong relationships with others. So having friend groups. We are meant to be together, and even if you look at the root word of heal, which is the same root word as health, same root word as holy, same root word as holistic, it means whole, W-H-O-L-E, coming together. So the first thing is they had very strong networks of friends and people who loved them just because of who they were. Second of all, they saw the world like taking lemons and making lemonade versus having the lemons, drown you. So they saw the problems that they faced as opportunities still to grow, and they didn't mind being challenged. The third thing is they had a great sense of higher purpose. And as we start to look at the way that we live our lives, then in many ways, everything is really about competing, and competing as an individual. It is me versus you. It's, if we say somebody is beautiful, that implies somebody is not beautiful. So everything is done in a way where we are seeing ourselves as a separate entity against others, all the way from, competing for a position in the classes, to doing well in your classes, to getting jobs, to finding somebody to get married to if that's what you want to do, et cetera, et cetera. And remember, I is in illness, but we is in wellness. So as we look at the secrets to how we might change our own lives, and given that you guys are going to be interacting with a lot of other people, then how can you change their lives are going to be the rest of the comments I'm going to make. So I'm going to give you a few challenges to consider for your own lives. So number one is when you leave here and you go out into the world, please try to adjust the lens that you see things through so that you see things as opportunities for you to grow. See your life as a great adventure, not like a jail sentence. And as we look at philosophers, the philosopher Rumi said, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop." So if you see yourself as having the capacity to deal with whatever life throws you and see that as an opportunity for you to grow and get better, then automatically you're going to be more successful and you're going to be happier. The poet Anna S. Nin said, "We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are." So the first challenge for you is to see the world in a way where life is happy and good. The second challenge is to find your purpose. Your purpose is your true north. Steve Jobs' purpose was to put a ding in the universe. Abraham Lincoln's purpose was to put the country back together. West Virginia University's purpose is to improve the lives and well-being of all of our citizens, and then try to take any of our solutions at work and share them with anybody, anywhere that we can. So find your own purpose. The persistence of higher purpose really was one of the critical features of people living long and well. In fact, in the blue zone areas of the world, the 5 areas of the world where people live particularly long and well, in Japan, Okinawa, Japan, they even have a name for purpose. It's called Ikigai, which means the reason for being. The third challenge I'd like to ask you guys to consider is to really pay attention to your peer group. Make sure that you look at each other as friends and not foe. The more we can stay together, the better you will do and the better other people around you to do. We are hardwired for connection. In fact, the anthropologist Robin Dunbar came up with Dunbar's number, which is 150, which is about the most people that you can know well. And that's because in our evolutionary times, 150 was about the biggest group of people that you could have survived with, that was small enough to feed each other and big enough to protect each other. The fourth challenge I would have to you is a quote that Brad Montag said, which is, be somebody that makes everybody feel like somebody. Be inclusive. Don't be restrictive in the people that you will embrace and help, because like the starfish story, the little child walking down the beach, seeing all the starfish washed up on the beach and throwing them back in the ocean one by one. An adult walks by and laughs at the child because the child will never get all the starfish back in the ocean. And the child wisely looks at the adult who criticizes the child for even trying and says, "You might be right. I might not get all of them back, but for the ones that I do, it will make a great difference." The Tao says that big events are made up of small things. So remember that everything you do makes a difference in this world and in your life. The next thing I would like you to consider will be to really remember, and we'll hear this song played relatively soon, your simple gifts. Because many times we mistake stuff that's important for stuff that's not important. So I'm a critical care physician, and at the end of people's lives, and I've spent time with a lot of people who have died, nobody says, I want more power, I want more money, I want a bigger house, I want another paper published. They want another meal with their family. They want another day outside to feel the sun in their face. They want to listen to music that they love. They want the people who love them and who they love with them as they're dying. So we have that opportunity every single day and almost never see that as a great privilege, but it absolutely is. And when it's gone, you can't get it back. So please take advantage of really, really embracing those simple gifts. And lastly, I would ask you to be kind. Be kind to each other, be kind to yourself. The anthropologist Rutger Bregman wrote in the book Humankind that humans have evolved as the dominant species on Earth because we learned to be kind to each other. And I would say to you graduates, whether you stay in West Virginia and you wear the Flying WV on your coat, wear it on a shirt, I hope you keep it in your heart. We love you guys, and we love you guys not because of the amazing accomplishments that you've done, but we love you guys because you are bright lights that will go out and be beacons for others. So class of 2022, go out and set the world on fire, figuratively, not literally, and Godspeed. Congratulations.
David Pogue is well known as the go-to expert on disruptive tech and science in a fast-changing world. He's a New York Times best-selling author, a 6-time Emmy winner for his work as a CBS Sunday morning correspondent, and a Nova host on PBS. For 13 years, David wrote the weekly tech column for the New York Times, for which he remains a contributor. Among other things, David has written about the future of technology in healthcare. He is the author of 7 books in the For the Dummies series, yay, as well as an author of several other best-selling books. He hosts a podcast called Unsung Science. We initially invited David to speak in 2020 in recognition of our first graduating class in health informatics and information management. That year, unfortunately, we held virtual commencement exercises, so he has graciously deferred until this year, and we look forward to his long-awaited comments to our graduates. Please welcome David Pogue to the podium.
Dr. Marsh, professors, students, parents, grandparents, siblings, and children who got dragged here knowing fully well they're not allowed to use their phones. Thank you for inviting me. I may not have been the first choice to speak to you today, but I apparently have heard that Johnny Depp was busy. I didn't. Anyway, you guys really played your cards right. When you decided to go into the health sciences, you brilliantly predicted the future. Somehow you knew that if there's one sure thing about the future, it's going to be more people needing more health care. The climate crisis means more sick and injured people. The aging population means more old bodies breaking down. And I hate to break it to you, but this COVID deal wasn't the last pandemic. So get psyched, you guys. You'll always have jobs. And you'll be working in a time when healthcare is more important to the mainstream than ever. The pandemic wasn't a super fun time, but you got to admit, it brought medical science to the general public in a big new way. I mean, before COVID, what ordinary citizen had ever heard of an antigen test or, an N95 mask or mRNA vaccines? Before this period, what airline passenger had ever become so enraged about having to wear a mask that the flight attendants had to strap him down with duct tape to his seat. That happened twice. You're graduating into a society where people track their own health metrics. Like, I can remember when the state of the art in personal biometrics was a pedometer. Like, it counted your steps. That's all the first Fitbit was. These days, Apple Watches and Fitbit watches can measure your pulse, respiration, blood oxygen levels, skin temperature, physical activity, sleep, electrodermal activity, decibel exposure. They can detect abnormal heart rate, sudden falls, dangerous exposure to loud sounds, deteriorating walking steadiness, and even snoring. And what they can do with this data is even more amazing. They're using it to give you early disease detection. Already, these watches are saving thousands of lives by detecting atrial fibrillation and unusual changes in your heart rate. There's research out of Stanford University that shows that these consumer devices can pick up early signs of type 2 diabetes, Lyme disease, anemia, dehydration, heart attack risk, and even COVID. It's true. Fitbit did a study with 100,000 participants. They discovered that your smartwatch knows that you've got COVID 3 days before symptoms. I mean, this is amazing. If we all had had wearables, we could have cut the COVID pandemic in half. Come on, government, Apple Watches for everyone. Let's go. So, yeah, I know how to pander to my audience. Free stuff. So that's the exciting news. On the other hand, I'll admit that you guys are heading out into a scarier world. The climate crisis, Russia, the collapse of democracy, and maybe the most terrifying trend of all, the dawn of bad Marvel movies. I mean, the Eternals? What even was that? Anyway, from 2016 to 2020, diagnoses of in America of anxiety rose 40%, and that went up another 25% during the pandemic, as you heard from Dr. Marsh. So if depressing thoughts about the world have started sneaking up on you, I'd like to offer a little context to help frame your anxieties. First of all, anyone who thinks we live in a terrible time should take a look at any other time. Since 1880, child mortality is down 90% worldwide. In 1970, 28% of the world was chronically malnourished. Now it's 10%. Smallpox, wiped out. Polio, wiped out. Measles, mostly wiped out. All thanks to the universal, welcoming, public, grateful, universal acceptance of modern well, never mind. So yeah, things are complicated these days, but I'm not sure you'd rather live in one of those earlier eras. The second thing I'd like to point out is that anxiety is a natural result of change. Change means going from something you're used to something you're not, and there's nothing more powerful than the fear of the unknown. If your brain can't see something, it's picturing the worst. I'm especially familiar with that cycle because I write about technology. AI, 5G, self-driving cars, screens rotting our brains. Everybody's freaking out. But once again, context. Every new technology in history has terrified the public. You name an invention, and the experts were there to tell us how dangerous it is. Like books. In 1680, writing about the printing press, philosopher Gottfried Wilhelm wrote, "This horrible new mass of books might contribute to a fall back into barbarism." Or the telephone. In 1877, a London newspaper columnist wrote about the telephone, "We will soon be nothing but transparent heaps of jelly to each other." Guess we shouldn't tell them about Snapchat. Or my favorite one is trains. When steam trains first began carrying human passengers in the 1860s, those trains went 40 miles an hour. No human being had ever traveled at that velocity in history. 40 miles an hour. The newspapers started writing about this thing called sudden railway madness. That's where the speed would make you go insane. It could be worse if you were a woman on the train, They said your uterus would fall out. I hate when that happens. One medical journal explained it like this: violent movements of the body can cause a loosening of the uterus with resulting sterility, thus defeating a woman's true purpose in life, the bringing forth of children. Really? You would have preferred to live back then? Okay. Aren't those hilarious? Oh, those silly, silly ancestors. Okay, but guess what? We're not all that much better. Just remember all that the next time you're reading some scare piece about the dangers of AI or the dangers of self-driving cars. Yeah, okay, it's possible they'll pose some dangers, but history shows that we eventually get the kinks out and we prosper from the invention. Okay, all of that was a clever segue to the advice portion of this commencement speech. Most of these speeches include advice like work hard, believe in yourself, follow your dreams, that kind of thing. And sure, do all that. But I want to offer you something a little more original. So I asked my New York Times readers to share with me the best advice they've ever heard in their lives. There were some really great ones, and I've picked out 4 for you. Number 1, things don't have to be perfect to be wonderful. So that can apply to all kinds of things: your job, your school, your apartment, your relationship. Number 2, don't compare your inside with someone else's outside. Turns out other people are not always who they appear to be or as happy. Number 3, a dollar bill is 6 inches long. Isn't that cool? Wherever you go, you've got a ruler with you. Oh, I know. You guys are like, we don't carry paper money. We're Gen Z. All right. Lucky for you, the iPhone is also 6 inches long. And number 4, listen up, people. If someone offers you a breath mint, take it. I love crowdsourcing wisdom. A few years ago, I wrote a book called The World According to Twitter. The whole book was me asking questions of my followers and publishing the best and the funniest answers. So just an example, at one point I asked, make up a clever title for a prequel to a famous movie. And people came up with stuff like, The Devil Wears Oshkosh Bagosh, or Snakes in the Terminal, or There Goes Private Ryan, I Hope He'll Be Okay. And my favorite of all, We're Running Low on Mohicans. Your parents will explain it to you later. It's really funny. There was a movie called The Last of the Mohicans. Never mind. But in that book, I also asked, what's your greatest regret? And by far the best answer I got was this one, which had stayed with me. The only regret I have is the time I spent regretting you made the best decision you could with the information you had at the time. It's genius. It's true. You're going to make mistakes. Of course you will. Everybody does. But if you make a choice that turns out to be the wrong one, let yourself off the hook. You made the best decision you could with the information you had at the time. I love that. So graduates, the world of adulting and all its anxieties and all of its thrills lie ahead of you. So try to remember, you already made it through the humiliations of elementary school. You survived the indignities of middle school. Somehow you paid for college, and you crushed it at the WVU School of Medicine. Congratulations, Mountaineers! You did it!
Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy a performance of Simple Gifts.
Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be.
Dr. Marsh, faculty, program administration, family, and friends, it is now my honor to present the students who fulfill the requirements for graduation from the professional and undergraduate programs of West Virginia University School of Medicine. I invite Dr. Marsh to join me to congratulate the graduates.
The first graduates receiving the degree Masters of Science in Athletic Training from the School of Medicine and hooded by Program Chairperson Dr. Yam Nguyen. Athletic Training Marshal Demetria Marie DeRico. Matthew Carmen DeGiorgio. Nakaya Kathleen Dornbush. Sabra Nicole Matheny. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Laboratory Diagnostics with tracks in Medical Laboratory Science or Histotechnology, to be recognized by Dr. Michelle Butina and Kim Feaster. Graduating summa cum laude, Biomedical Laboratory Sciences Marshal, Emma Julia Locarnini. Graduating cum laude, Caitlin Bothy. Brewster Stonewall Bunting. Graduating magna cum laude, Caitlin Andrea Davis. Graduating cum laude, Haley Grace Dorsey. Graduating cum laude, Alicia Nicole Goff. Graduating magna cum laude, Adriana Cavallo Gonzalez. Adriana Joy Antini. Graduating magna cum laude, Sydney Rose LaCasa. Graduating magna cum laude, Tyler Ryan-Linkus. Graduating cum laude, Veronica Mann. Rachel Martin. Graduating magna cum laude, Madison Miles. Najiri Amira Segrist Brooks. Graduating cum laude, Jessica Gerald Stolniker. Elizabeth Louise Sterner. Jacob Eugene Toney. Graduating magna cum laude, Carissa Towns. Graduating magna cum laude, Nikki Lorraine Triplets. Receiving the degree Doctor of Audiology and hooded by Program Chairperson Dr. Jane Brandel and Vice Chairperson Dr. Michelle Moore. Allison Mary Amend. Abby Nicole Barnes. Helen Adair Boyd Pratt. Jessica P. Chen. Hannah Clotilde Dirth. Audiology Outstanding Clinician, Lauren Maria Gurity. Megan Victoria Mann. Abigail Warren. Lauren Darlene Wolf. The first graduates receiving the degree Master of Science in Speech Language Pathology from the School of Medicine and hooded by Program Chairperson Dr. Jane Brandel and Vice Chairperson Dr. Michelle Moore. Leah Marie Blend. Mackenzie Taylor Bosley. Emily Ann Bourne. Kaylee Elizabeth Brimhall. Nicole Chrisman. Michaela Donovan. Speech Language Pathology Outstanding Clinician, Paloma Dogan. Basra Ensar. Catherine Lillian Fraticelli. Erica Dawn Gorman. Morgan Page Hamble. Carolyn Janet Halensky. Jillian Paige Jakelski. Abigail Johnson. Hannah Kaufman. Elizabeth Kingsley. Caitlin Marie Lammers. Madeline Rose Losey. Clarissa Janine Mason. Elena Nickel. Graduate Assistant Award, Danielle Christine Prater. Caleb Joshua Rutt. Graduate Research Award, Allison Page Rossborough. Tony Marie Smay. Chelsea Ann Smith. Margaret Spar. Abby Jean Stevens. Lauren Nicole Faggard. Adriana Elizabeth Titchner. Haley Nicole Wilburn. Rebecca Lee Woodell. Brennan Gabrielle Yoho. Brianna Michelle Zeiler. The first graduates receiving the degree Bachelors of Science from the School of Medicine and reorganized by Program Chairperson Dr. Jane Brandel and Vice Chairperson Dr. Michelle Moore. Communication Sciences and Disorders Marshal Monica Grace Bowers. Lydia Grace Andlinger. Lacey Marie Beam. She also received the Undergraduate Research Award. Killian Cardinal. Katie Carnifex. Victoria Marie Catania. Ryan McKinley Kolaw. Hannah Renee Copenhaver. Hannah Sue Corbin. Meg Kramer. Haley Marie Curry. Kylie DiGiacomo. Morgan Miracle Duty. Emily Pauline Emmerth. Emma Kaylee Falk. Alexis Brooke Garback. Julia Nicole Hardy. Chloe Autumn Hibbs. Bethany Jean Hoover. Abigail Houchins. Samantha Kesmarek. Grace Kreischer. Maya Nicole McAllister. Undergraduate Service Award, Pamela June Mullins. Carly K. Nesselrod. Abby Marie Pasek. Zoe Morgan Pingley. Alyssa Brooke Rayleigh. Alexandra Taylor Salerno. Chloe Fisher Schock. Jordan Sherwood. Margaret McKendry Sorrells. Lindsay Nicole Stover. Hannah Tice. Gina Marie Wolodkin. Receiving the degree Masters of Science in Exercise Physiology and hooded by their Exercise Physiology Faculty Advisor. Amanda Lynn Beers. Mallory Reed Brown. Freddie William Daring III. Melissa Ashley Miro. Emily Reinhardt. Outstanding Masters of Science Clinical Care Award, Margaret Ann Rice. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Exercise Physiology to be recognized by Dr. Randy Briner, Chairperson, Division of Exercise Physiology, and Dr. John Hollander, Senior Assistant Dean for Research and Graduate Education. Head Exercise Physiology Marshal and graduating summa cum laude, Abigail Elizabeth Roop. Graduating magna cum laude, Keithana Arjuna. Outstanding undergraduate scholar and graduating summa cum laude, Hunter Auk. Cameron Page Barrick. Ryan Gregory Bashore. Graduating cum laude, Lauren Michael Beckish. Graduating cum laude, Alexander Christopher Beckman. Amanda Michelle Biebel. Erin Marie Bish. Exercise Physiology Marshal, graduating summa cum laude, Daniel Thomas Blades. Graduating cum laude, Amanda B. Bowen. Samantha Paige Bowen. Outstanding Undergraduate Research Award and graduating cum laude, Ian Thomas Bradford. Robbie Edward Brockup. Graduating summa cum laude, Joseph Conrad Burchett. Cameron Delaney Buck. Graduating cum laude, Alexis Lee Burrow. Emily Carter. Graduating cum laude, Jared Robert Childress. Chase Anthony Clements. Graduating magna cum laude, Mitchell Adam Klaus. Graduating magna cum laude, Madeline Lane Cochran. Outstanding Undergraduate Senior Award for Leadership and Service, graduating summa cum laude, Michelle Marie Coleman. Graduating cum laude, Ethan John Curry. Kyle Bradley Davis. Carson Anna DeWeese. Amber Lynn Dombrowski. Jared Anderson Eddy. Graduating cum laude, Erin Elizabeth Egnott. Nicholas Michael Ang. Graduating summa cum laude, Ian Gabriel Fairley. Graduating cum laude, Evan Flesher. Graduating summa cum laude, Matthew Fleshman. Gianna Marie Galeno. Graduating magna cum laude, Allison Kaylee Gardner. Bailey Glodowski. Graduating magna cum laude, Alec Anthony Hanshu. Graduating cum laude, Rachel Ann Warnug. Graduating cum laude, Aaliyah Renee Jackson. Outstanding Undergraduate Senior Award for Clinical Performance and graduating summa cum laude, Madison Melanie Jebbia. Rachel Plants Jordan. Graduating cum laude, Allison Marie Julian. Graduating summa cum laude, Savannah Louise Kincaid. Nicole Marie LaRocca. Ken Marshall Lewis. Outstanding Undergraduate Scholar and graduating summa cum laude, Kayla Marie Liptrap. Kaylin Morel Logue. Emma Morgan Longley. Graduating cum laude, Alexandria Lee Lusk. Gracie Lynn Martin. Kaylee Ray Martin. DeAndre Vincent Mason. John Carl Mayfield. Graduating cum laude, Laura McCrae. Hunter Gabrielle McGaughey. Megan Lynn Myers. Alyssa Marie Mikelski. Graduating magna cum laude, Parker Gregory Miller. Graduating magna cum laude, James Andrew Mills. Robert Hunter Mitchell. Graduating magna cum laude, Zachary James Morris. Graduating magna cum laude, Olivia Nicole Naylor. Sean Patrick O'Donnell. Graduating summa cum laude, Kylie Ann Parker. Graduating summa cum laude, Colin Parrish. Graduating magna cum laude, Skylar Rose Patron. Cameron Brady Pierce. Graduating magna cum laude, Emily Grace Pickering. Graduating summa cum laude, Caitlin Grace Pentai. Graduating summa cum laude, Morgan Kaylee Pitcher. Graduating cum laude, Gabrielle Grace Potter. Outstanding undergraduate scholar and graduating summa cum laude, Abigail Whitney Radabaugh. Graduating summa cum laude, Rachel Nicole Repperts. Graduating cum laude, Andrew Charles Riley. Graduating magna cum laude, Madison Renee Robinson. Graduating magna cum laude, Grace Alexandra Rock. Jordan Shea Rodriguez. Graduating summa cum laude, Julia Mahar Romani. Kaylee Elizabeth Ruffner. Graduating cum laude, Sophia Bell Salon. Graduating cum laude, Wama Shalon. Graduating summa cum laude, Iman Nisa Sher. Graduating cum laude, Garrett Bruce Shingler. Tanner John Siemens. Graduating cum laude, Catherine Ann Stakem. Graduating magna cum laude, Autumn Marissa Stickler. Outstanding undergraduate scholar and graduating summa cum laude, Tony Emerson Stickley. Caitlin Paige Swartz. Graduating magna cum laude, John Paul Thomas. Graduating cum laude, Kyle David Walther. Exercise Physiology Marshal, graduating summa cum laude, Skylar Grace Watson. Exercise Physiology Marshal, graduating summa cum laude, Olivia Faye Wills. Jacob Christopher Worth. Graduating magna cum laude, Gage Cameron Zurcher. Receiving the Bachelor of Science degree in Health Informatics and Information Management and recognized by Program Chairperson Sally Lucci. Health Informatics and Information Management Marshal, graduating cum laude, Angela Buckenberger. Nicholas Anderson. Danielle Bodilak. Nathaniel Blake Collier. Gabriella Costco. Alyssa Brooke Curry. Mackenzie Lynn Dotson. Graduating cum laude, John Adam Hargis. Graduating summa cum laude, Allison Nicole Houchins. Cameron Mark Kaiser. Graduating summa cum laude, Victoria Lorraine Lincoln. Graduating summa cum laude, Aubrey Danielle Neff. Gabrielle Lee Nemchek. Graduating cum laude, Addison Haley Sanders. Graduating magna cum laude, Leah Meredith Dawn Shreve. Sydney K. Stanley. Graduating cum laude, Cheryl Lindsay Taylor. Graduating magna cum laude, Mercy Uday. Brianna Nicole Wingrove. Receiving the Bachelor of Science degree in Immunology and Medical Microbiology to be recognized by Dr. John Barnett and Dr. Rosanna Schaefer. Graduating summa cum laude, Immunology and Medical Microbiology Marshal, Alyssa Brashear. Graduating summa cum laude, Jessica Amidro. Graduating magna cum laude, Nathan Andrew Arvon. Kendall Marie Berry. Graduating summa cum laude, Kelsey Noel Britton. Graduating magna cum laude, Brooke Ashlyn Brothers. Graduating summa cum laude, Lily Grace Cessna. Graduating summa cum laude, Alexander Vincent Sherbanek. Graduating summa cum laude, Riley Nicole Sisney. Colton Joseph Delarose. Graduating summa cum laude, Spencer Riley Dublin. Graduating summa cum laude, Cody Olin Dunham. Graduating magna cum laude, Brian Gregory Farmer. Nicholas Albert Fitzgerald. Graduating summa cum laude, Jennifer Ruth Helen Gillards. Graduating cum laude, Emily Marie Grayson. Graduating cum laude, Caitlin Mackenzie Hayes. Graduating summa cum laude, Luke Robert Gerald. Morgan Marie Johnson. Graduating summa cum laude, Matthew Tyler Kays. Graduating summa cum laude, Anna Catherine Kernot. Graduating cum laude, Sakith Kiathari. Graduating magna cum laude, Erica Elizabeth Larry Johnny. Graduating magna cum laude, Orion May Marshall. Graduating magna cum laude, Maeve Morris. Graduating summa cum laude, Lauren Michelle Meyer. Graduating cum laude, Morgan Ashley Pantalone. Graduating summa cum laude, Lily Mae Powell. Graduating summa cum laude, Connor Charles Pryceski. Graduating magna cum laude, Nathaniel Aaron Rader. Graduating summa cum laude, Madison Nicole Stamper. Graduating magna cum laude, Kelsey Faye Wright. Receiving the degree of Master of Occupational Therapy to be hooded by Dr. Steve Wheeler. Occupational Therapy Marshal, Carrie Lynn Morris. Sharon Brooke Mildred. Blackstone. Bailey Jo Calendrose. Madison Mackenzie Campbell. Rachel Taylor Carrico. Carly Chulak. Lauren Hope Clarkson. Carrie Ann Clemens. Mary Hager Award winner, Elena Kathleen Klein. Jenny Elizabeth Colacerto. Darian Hope Darway. Reagan Brianne Drinko. Mary Hager Award and Academic Achievement Award, Bailey Suzanne Eastep. Olivia Bell Glazer. Natalie Jane Henwood. Alexa Lynn Hickman. Catherine Teruko Ishimasa. Michaela Elizabeth Lansbury. Mackenzie Ann Larson. Corinne Taylor Lewis. Emily Ann McCarthy. Allie Marie McMullen. Lauren Marie Moon. Kylie Jo Morgan. Community Outreach Award, Hannah Jarello Savage. Bethany Christine Phillips. OT Mountaineer Award, Madeline Danielle Pora. Academic Achievement Award, Avery Bella Santella. Academic Achievement Award, Madison Lee Satterfield. Megan Ray Satterfield. Megan Seaton. Alexis Jane Sharp. Academic Achievement Award, Caitlin May Shields. Raysheen Simmons. McKenna Smith. Elizabeth Devereaux Leadership Award, Shelby Rose Smith. Caitlin Taylor Saraski. Catherine Samansky. Gabriella Veligol. Courtney Nicole Welch. Completing 2 years of the professional curriculum in occupational therapy and receiving the Bachelor of Arts degree in Human Performance and Health, recognized by Dr. Steve Wheeler. Graduating cum laude, Paige Atkinson. Graduating cum laude, Haley Madison Daniels. Graduating magna cum laude, Karen Fitzgerald. Graduating summa cum laude, Cassie Ann Fronapple. Graduating cum laude, Imani Saab. The first graduates receiving the degree Master of Health Sciences in Physician Assistant Studies from the School of Medicine and hooded by Program Director Dr. Jennifer Moman. Physician Assistant Studies Marshal Sarah Mackenzie Shoemate. Courtney Danielle Ammond. Lauren Ann Bennett. Jennifer Marie Bresney. Jada Brown. Charles Harry Albert Burrows. Victoria Ann Cook. Chelsea Dunlap. Lane Hartnell. Julia Elise Hayes. Glenn Elliott Hoffman. Hunter Jenkins. Demetrius Nicholas Joanno. Kelsey Elizabeth Lusk. Destiny Tiara Noel. Hannah Nicole Poole. Lauren Elizabeth Prophet. Alexis Jade Ramsey. Skylar Rose Sade. Jaffer Ali Sikander. Bailey Alicia Scuban. Rachel Tal Larson. Jason Tyler Truman. Madison Elizabeth Yaki. Receiving the degree of Doctor of Physical Therapy, hooded by Dr. Mary Beth Mandich. Physical Therapy Marshal and President of the Class of 2022, Stephen Murray. Morgan Adams. Samuel Alloy. Recipient of the William T. Stauber Student Research Award, Sean Tyler Anderson. Amanda Marie Barrett. Jordan Terry Bennett. Zachary David Benning. Outstanding Student Clinician Award, Bailey Elizabeth Clark. Laura Catherine Davis. Jacqueline Therese Deary. Casey Driscoll. Allison Malia Duke. Kylie Marie Ensign. Rebecca Lynn Eubanks. Recipient of the William T. Stauber Student Research Award, Jason Fertig. Natalie Marie Fowler. Ryan Fuller. Outstanding Academic Achievement Award, Sarah Elizabeth Harvey. Tess Michaela Humberston. Emily Louise Heiler Both. Allison Marie Kimball. John Reed McClure. Riley Page McDiffett. Outstanding Academic Achievement Award, Samantha Monetti. Emily Margaret Murphy. John J. Petronas Award for Outstanding Performance on a Comprehensive Exam, Olivia Marie Myers. Lisa Patel. Courtney Marie Sansone. Evan Seaby. Tyler Sexton. Lucas Shiflett. Thomas Joseph Simons. Madison Joe Stavinsky. Jessica Lynn Welch. Dave Pariser Leadership Award, Noah Flanagan Woods. Kaylee Ann Yurgo. Dr. Marsh, this concludes the presentation of the candidates for graduation.
Okay, this is the good stuff. This is like the end of church. Everybody's about to get outside with their graduates. So, parents, families, faculty, staff, please stand as I ask the class of 2022 to stand up. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the West Virginia University Board of Governors, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have been recommended, with all of the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. As West Virginia's newest graduates, bachelors may take the tassels from the right side of their caps and put it to the left as a symbol of your achievement. Parents, families, please join me in congratulating the newest graduates of West Virginia University. And stay standing, everybody.
Graduates, university marshals will release you in an orderly manner after the platform party exits the floor.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miner's lady, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty, painted on the sky. Missed a taste of moonshine, teardrops in my eyes. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, take me home, country roads. I hear her voice in the morning hours, she calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday, Lord, yesterday. Country roads, take me home to